In the meantime, the New York Times is describing Rubio's current situation, writing, quote, Senator Marco Rubio has persuaded wealthy donors, Republican Party elders, and his colleagues in Congress that he represents their best chance to overtake the seemingly invincible force that is Donald J. Trump. He just cannot seem to persuade the voters. Let's bring in Larry Sabato, director of the Center for Politics at the University of Virginia. All right, Larry, a little bit more from these numbers from Quinnipiac because they're new. Trump beats Rubio when it comes to men, when it comes to women, when it comes to every single major issue, the economy, terrorism, and immigration. What do you think these new numbers mean?
Jenna, they are devastating for the Rubio campaign, no matter what they say. Marco Rubio has represented Florida for 5 years in the United States Senate. He was Speaker of the State House of Representatives before that. And do you mean on at the end of February, just a little over 2 weeks before the Florida primary, he's losing in a landslide to Donald Trump in his own state? Well, maybe he'll turn it around somehow, but I'll believe it when I see it. Look, if Ted Cruz loses Texas, and I don't think he will, he's out. I think he'll end up winning Texas, though we'll look at the margin. It may not be by very much next Tuesday. If John Kasich can't carry Ohio on March 15th, he's out. If Marco Rubio can't carry Florida, and this poll is terrible news for him, he's out.
I just want to mention to our viewers, too, that this poll was taken after Jeb Bush dropped out of the race. It's just taken over the last several days, so very fresh, very new. And, of course, we have the debate tonight. In the meantime, the Rubio campaign has come out with a line that they've repeated, and it's in the New York Times piece, but we've heard it on our network as well, that John Kasich has to get out of the race. That's what they're saying. That's where their focus is that John Kasich has to get out of the race. In the meantime, after these Quinnipiac numbers just came out, John Kasich's campaign hit Twitter and says that John Kasich is the only candidate who can beat Donald Trump, and Marco Rubio needs to do the right thing and suspend his campaign. No coincidence on timing on that. But what do you think of the strategy, Larry, of Rubio's campaign saying, it's not us, Kasich, the field, that's the problem?
Yeah, well, they're all saying that. Again, that's the fundamental problem for the anti-Trump forces. They're divided, and the remaining candidates all think that it's the problem is the other candidates. If only they would get out. And I'll repeat what I've said for months, and actually Trump, I've heard him say this on the stump. They are mistaken if they believe that when a candidate drops out, somehow all of his supporters are going to migrate to the camp of another anti-Trump candidate. It doesn't work that way. It never works that way. Trump will get a share. He might not get a majority, but he'll get a share of the voters for each of these candidates when they drop out. So they'd better have a fallback strategy other than that. It isn't simply the idea that you can unite the anti-Trump forces. You have to find issues that will detach Trump from some of his supporters. We're still waiting to hear them.
Interesting. So here's Marco Rubio last night with Megyn Kelly talking a little bit about his position in the campaign. We'll talk about what he can change about his strategy potentially after we listen to this, Larry.
Well, first of all, I'll admit he's the front runner and that I'm certainly an underdog, but I've been an underdog my entire life. I mean, from where I grew up and how I grew up to how I came to the Senate running against the Republican establishment to this race, when I've been hit by over $40 million of negative ads by establishment money. But I relish that. This is a country of underdogs. This is a nation made up of people who scratch and claw to move ahead and improve their lives.
What do you think about the underdog line? How do you think that's going to play, and what do you think Rubio can do as far as a change of strategy to make more of a mark?
Well, it's the heavyweight championship of the world, and I don't really think you want to go into it being a heavy underdog. You can be a slight underdog and win the fight, but at this point, Rubio has to use the debate tonight very, very well. If he whiffs again and does not challenge Donald Trump in major ways, then you'll know it's over. I'm sorry, it's over. He folded when Chris Christie challenged him. He has avoided confrontation with Trump repeatedly. People want to see steel in a potential president. He's going to have to show that. Cruz has shown more steel. He has other problems. So, you know, this is a complicated picture, and yet with each passing primary, it's becoming simpler.
So you're saying it's make or break tonight for Marco Rubio. This is going to be a huge night for him and how he performs, Larry.
It's very important. Make or break are the elections, not debates and not polls. They're the actual elections. But, you know, something has to change, or these other candidates are simply going to lose.
What do you think is missing? And as we look back again at the Quinnipiac poll just briefly, one of the areas where Donald Trump is definitely beating Marco Rubio is when it comes to leadership. That's an area where he's far outpolling Marco Rubio. But as we've talked around a little bit here, Larry, no candidate has really gone directly after Donald Trump, and instead they're looking at each other. Why? What are the aides missing? What are the strategists missing? What are the insiders missing about this election cycle where there isn't that attention directly at the front runner?
Jenna, I'll tell you what it is, and I heard this 100 times, and everybody in politics did, from leaders on the Republican side. And I mean leaders in office and big donors and people in party office. And what they said from the time Donald Trump announced till literally about a week ago was, Trump is going to fall of his own weight. Don't you worry your little head about it. He's going to make mistake after mistake after mistake, and they're going to add up, and then he's going to deflate like a big balloon. Well, guess what? It hasn't happened.
Do you think the tax return issue could be that for him?
The what issue?
The tax return issue that Mitt Romney just brought up yesterday on our channel, and that issue sort of being brought up. Is that a big enough issue? I mean, he got into a tiff with the Pope, and it wasn't a big enough issue. So are taxes?
Yeah, I watched that. I thought Neil Cavuto did a fantastic job with that interview. And look, Mitt Romney didn't do that by accident. Wouldn't you love to know the backstory about how he got there saying those things and what's coming next? I don't think Mitt Romney's out there by himself. I think there are some other establishment figures in the party who are going to be going after Trump. Look, maybe they know something that the rest of us don't know. It's entirely possible they know loads of things the rest of us don't know. Or maybe it's a bluff. But it's an opportunity for the anti-Trump forces to introduce some doubt. Now, why they think this is going to work when all the other stratagems against Trump haven't worked, I don't know. But they may have a super strategy that's super secret and will work beautifully that I can't imagine at the moment.
Well, we'll see. You're right about the backstory and the timing and all of that. But just to point out to our viewers, questions about what Donald Trump has made, his tax returns has come up for years, not when he's presidential candidate. And so that's something that has been worked over. So it'll be interesting to see, with more information, does it change? And when do we get those tax returns? We'll see. We'll see what happens. Larry, great to have you on the program as always. Thank you so much.